Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to Play the Hits. This is Super Mario RPG, and we're trying to figure out how to climb Land's End. How you doing, Max?
I'm pretty good.
I can't remember who I have to talk to get those Koopa Troopers.
I feel like it is the shop owner. What is he saying when you actually talk to him?
Is it the shop
you
owner?
haven't done 30 jumps in a row yet? I am ashamed of you.
I'm ashamed of me too. What about this guy? He's got... Wait, what? Why did it take me to... Oh my, I traveled from far. Welcome
Monster
to
Mama.
Oh, okay, wait, here we go.
Oh, here's some story, okay.
This is it. This is what I didn't do.
We're just like, you're not a monster. I don't want to talk to you.
Right, yeah. Any place left is up. Okay, that's the trick. Yep, this is it. Alright, so anyways, boy, a couple of things here. Going back to last episode, we kind of finally got into what made me really enjoy High Score Girl so much, which is the character of Haruo himself, which, you know, was basically exactly the like kind of an id for me. You know, that was like how I understood gaming. It was exactly what he talked about. And like I've kind of long since grown confident in the fact that I'm kind of this huge nerd, but I've never really heard like any person or medium really describe gaming in the exact way that I've always felt about it. And so we were talking about that conversation that he has with Hidaka, where he explains, you know, why games are such a wonderful outlet for him. And that's how I've always felt about them. And, you know, even today, I think, you know, gaming is a lot more mainstream than it is, but there's still kind of a division between, like, you know, people who play games casually or socially, and then, you know, people that, you know, like you and me, where it's like a culture that they're a part of.
Yeah. That it's not like, oh, I eat, sleep, and breathe games. It's not like it's my whole life, but at the same time, it's such a hobby that I care to know a lot you know, and I feel a little off when I'm not.
Yeah, when I'm not
either playing a few games or exactly.
And I think for a while, I think it really was like I kind of ate, slept, and breathed games because that was really, like I said, for the longest time, I really didn't socialize because aside from you, there really wasn't anyone to socialize with. There wasn't really anyone who understood or appreciated games the way that I did. And so that just was, you know, kind of my existence there for a while. And like I said, I made the changes and became more sociable, but it wasn't really on my terms. Like, I just kind of conformed to, you know, what everyone else found to be acceptable. But, you know, privately... What you gotta do. Yeah, privately kind of kept up my hobby. But nowadays, it's more like, I love games, I love gaming, but I've definitely slowed down a lot just because of job and family. Like, you know, whereas I used to be able to, you know, take like entire weekends to just tear through like a 50 to 60 hour RPG. Nowadays, like, you know, a game like that, or like let's use this generation as an example, Persona 5, Final Fantasy 15, and The Witcher 3. Those were all like 4 to 5 month projects for me, you know.
Yeah.
And Persona 5 actually even longer because I got sidetracked. That was all, like over a year that I was playing Persona 5.
Yeah, I guess The Witcher. Yeah, if you try to just tear through it, you probably could in like less than 30 hours. Yeah, maybe 30 hours.
I would still say it's a 40-hour game, even just doing the story. Maybe I'm wrong. But
I don't know, because I know. But anyway, yeah.
But I did so much of the side content. God damn it! I did so much of the side content in that game that by the time I did finish the main story, I had clocked in like about 150 hours.
Oh, me too.
My God. Which was the same with Persona 5. Like, if you just go like day to day, like you go right to your bed after school and don't develop any of his like social relationships, you could probably polish that game in 35 to 40 hours. But I really didn't see like the social interactions and like the non like dungeon RPG stuff as optional. Like I saw that as like the meat of the game. And so yeah, by the time I was done with that one, that was another easily 150 hour plus game.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, and sometimes it's like if it changes, I don't know if it actually literally changes the end story or the end game, but I know it's going to change a lot of the gameplay if you're not doing that.
Yes.
I mean, it's like you think of, I know you never played Lightning Returns, but it's a game where basically the side quests are kind of the game.
Right.
And you spend a lot of the time just trying to quote unquote save people, and that's how you get experience. The fights don't actually get you much experience at all, but doing the fetch quests and doing the, hey, I'm gonna make this play happen for you, or I'm going to find your long lost journal or something, you would actually get a ton of experience from that. And so that's how you mainly leveled up Lightning. And
that makes sense. That's almost exactly the same as Persona 5.
Yeah, you could just go to the menu and go to bed and be like, there's 13 days that you have before the end of the world, and you could just literally beat the game if you were crazy and really good, because I guess some people have done it at like level 1.
Oh, wow.
You could beat the game in like less than 2 hours.
Huh. That's great.
And I think it's, for most people, like a 40, 50 hour game.
Right.
So it's, Persona 5.
It's weird to think about Lightning Returns and Persona 5 in the same breath, but I get you. You've kind of made me a little bit interested in Lightning Returns now.
It's an interesting game, dude. But you know what? Not for the story. Although the story it's going to be like, oh, the one thing that was actually, maybe you hated the story for 13, but I know you weren't a huge fan of the hallways and stuff like that.
The story I actually enjoyed.
So the story kind of sucks.
The linearity is what got to me in that game.
The story sucks in Lightning Returns. I myself really liked the combat, and I liked it because I thought 13.2 really messed up the combat. It was the monsters stripped away.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh no, there's more depth with the monsters. It's like, no, that's not true at all. Like, there's a few monsters that are like the best ones, and the whole synergist role, there's no point. It's just stupid. 13 was balanced. 13 was, I thought 13's battle system was good, even though it took too long to open up. But
that's very true. I think that's what people mean when they defend 13 too, is that it was more open immediately, which is kind of true.
It is true.
You still had to wait on some of the better monsters in the game in order to really get the most out of it.
But I hate the Crux Historia, even though the song that comes along with it is okay. But I would just sit there for a while and listen to it. But the lack of a world map, instead just being like, here's your menu, what time do you want to go to next? It's like, is that open? It is more open, and each place is also more open and more explorable, but they're all disconnected.
That's very true.
And then even FF10 felt a little more connected than 13.2.
10 in a weird way, like, I kind of give that game shit because that's where the more linear structure started, but it still felt more open. Because at the end of the day, you still got the airship and you could go to any, area.
That's true. And not only that, you could go to the airship, land in Besaid, and technically make your way to the end of the world without getting back on the airship.
That's very true.
It was all literally connected. It would just be a pain in the ass to go from one end of the world to the other, but you could do it.
Yep, that's quite true.
And 13.2, it's like, go back to the Crux Historia menu and go to this world. So yeah, 13.2 is the weakest for me in the series. Lightning Returns story sucks, but if you ever wanted to, like, if it's ever on PS Now or something, I don't know.
It's kind of a shame because 13.2 turned me off so much that I didn't bother with Lightning Returns.
13.2 sucks. Lightning Returns, the combat is fun, especially the optional bosses. Like, when you get really good at it and you get good at the timing and stuff, it's very much like this game. You can, like, perfect defend and stuff.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
And you use ATB, and if you're like kind of bad at the game or you don't trust your timing, you can get like more forgiving windows with these perfect timings and stuff. But if once you get really good at it, you can maximize your ATB. Dude. Nice. First try.
Not too shabby.
He times you, doesn't he?
Yeah. But I think you have to get in like under 10 seconds or something like that for like a prize.
To get an item, yeah.
I forget what, or maybe less than 15. I don't know.
It may be less than 15.
Here we go.
What was it? Oh, that's right. Somehow, when I was playing FF10 on your system, like the second time or the first time,
trying to get me into the end game, and I just couldn't.
Oh yeah, it's fun though. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But for somehow I did the frickin' chocobo.
Completing the sphere grid though, I just can't. I can't grind that much.
But it's all
like
about,
I like the optional bosses, but
the grinding is not. I'm gonna keep grinding and do the sphere grid little by little by little. It's more like I'm gonna do this new thing, then I'm gonna do this new thing, I'm gonna do this new thing, and all of these new things are in the service of finally getting all the weird shit together to be like, oh, now I'm gonna complete the sphere grid, and then you do like 1 or 2 battles and you complete the sphere grid. That's kind of how it is. I
guess, yeah.
But it is kind of weird and stupid. And then you start running out of. It's not about, oh, I need more levels. It quickly becomes, oh, I have 900 or whatever
levels.
Don't
know how I remembered that.
Wow.
That was the most obscure thing in this game so far that I've remembered. I was like, wait a minute. I know you. I know this screen.
That's just muscle memory there.
That really was.
But you start running out of orbs.
Yeah, you're right. I was gonna say, if you gain like 1 million levels all in one battle, then what do you do for the spheres to actually fill in the nodes?
you do the sphere grid next to.
Siri, shut the hell up.
You did say something close to Siri, didn't you?
I guess I must have.
Maybe you said sphere.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, you just do it next to Rin or somebody who sells you the spheres.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I get it. The end game in that game is huge, and especially with the old PS2 version, there was like almost no payoff. At least you have the Dark Aeons and Penance and some other stuff in the HD remake.
Right.
Oh, speaking of remakes, you sent me that link about the leak.
Oh, yes. So FF7, a couple things to discuss. First off, this is the first time we've recorded since the new trailer came out.
That's right.
Give me your thoughts on that, first and foremost.
I mean, short but sweet. I liked it. You could tell that they changed a little bit as far as like I think we talked about it real quick the last time.
We did, just a bit.
They changed the faces slightly. Is this our first time seeing Eris? I think it is.
We saw her before, but I don't think it was gameplay.
Okay.
My thoughts were, you're right, that it's a little different, but I feel like the big difference isn't really the character models as much as it is, like, they kind of got the color palette more correct. Like
and it is more colorful.
Yeah, it looks like the PS1 game, which is kind of encouraging, actually.
Yeah,
they're not going for that dark, moody, like gray and brown Advent Children look. Like they seem like they could definitely nail like the vibes of the PS1 game.
I don't know if it was just Barrett and his sunglasses or what it was, but I was and it was the drab color. I was very much reminded of the Matrix.
Yeah.
With that first trailer, and now it's like, okay, we're getting away from that a little bit. This is a little bit more colorful. The enemy designs gave me a bit of hope too. That was like, they actually got
like
some
it wasn't
of the
just like the faceless,
weird.
nameless shoulders. Like it was some of those robots from the actual. Yeah, you're right.
It was some of the things that are like, this truly is not just a fantasy world, but just weird.
Yeah.
And they put that in, so I like that. So the trailer itself did encourage me a bit. Rock candy. Oh.
Those are really good, actually.
Yeah, they are. Throw out some pure water or something.
Yeah, fuck pure water. Save those for the final boss.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it just does like 300 damage, doesn't it? Like right off the bat.
Like regardless of defense, yeah. But you're right. That was kind of Go on. I won't interrupt you.
Let's see. So that was encouraging, and then the leak. Although I will say the leak, I'm sort of leaning towards fake. I'm not completely like it's definitely fake, because I think it's a super good fake. But if true,
Sorry. The leak, as in the article that I sent you the other day.
Yeah. I lean towards that as fake, but I like talking about it anyway. And even though I try not to hope, hope beyond hope gives me a lot of it.
Just for posterity here and recording purposes, what we're discussing is a supposed Reddit leak that came from someone working in a Square Enix California studio,
like some localizing branch or something.
And he gave a couple of really interesting details that I found kind of fun. A couple of
it sounds
small
real
things,
for sure.
A couple of small things there will be the dress scene with Cloud, so they're bringing that back, which is good. That Sephiroth, much to my relief, Sephiroth is not prominently featured until the Calm flashback.
Just like the original game.
Which is something that you and I were really worried about.
Just because he's being featured
too fast, yeah.
Yeah, he's being featured in the trailers, but if it's just little quips, because we were talking about that fire scene the last time, and it's is that just when Cloud's kind of, losing his marbles a bit? And it seems like, yes, that is the case. That's why he sees Sephiroth.
And another piece of good news that would follow from that, which is that Calm is an actual location, which means that our worst fears apparently aren't true, which was that this would be kind of a reimagining of Final Fantasy VII if the whole damn thing took place in Midgar.
In Midgar, yeah. That's all they've really shown so far.
Right, and that's kind of what I was really worried about, is that this is really just Final Fantasy VII, the Midgar story or something like that.
Yeah, right. And
which is almost like what I thought this was going to land on, somehow.
This leak, again, if we were to know that all this stuff is true, holy crap, this is best case scenario,
because they were talking about Kate Sith's slot limit break, which that's a small detail, but it kind of gives a lot of room for being excited about the combat.
The combat, they're talking about that it is a lot of the regular slashes, but that each weapon has kind of its own unique slash or unique thing, and that you have to rely on kind of the unique, I don't know if it's going to be 13 style where it's just they're in slippage or stagger or whatever.
It almost looks to me a lot like Kingdom Hearts from what they've shown of the menus and everything.
Yeah. But it seems like you can't just get by slashing. That right. It's you got to do this slash, or maybe limit breaks are going to feature more prominently.
Yeah.
Where in the original game, it's you got lucky. You can decimate whatever this thing is, and if it's a boss, you can just really decimate it.
Right.
Well, this might be, you have to rely on limit breaks. You kind of have to use them strategically.
Mm-hmm. So another thing that he said I thought was interesting was Yuffie and Vincent are no longer optional, but you can only miss them up to a certain point. And then the example that, again, I got really excited about, he said if you get to Rocket Town and you haven't picked up Yuffie by then,
that she'll come.
There she is. So
that's no big surprise as far as not being optional.
But what's attached to that is kind of surprising because, one, Rocket Town is a thing. You will be going to Rocket Town, which is awesome. But then, two, the whole notion of picking Yuffie up and that you can miss her. There's one of two things that could mean. One, there's a couple times where, if it's a remake and it's linear, kind of like Final Fantasy X style, you, bump into her in a town and then you can, interact with her and take her with you. That's possible, but then the thing that I kind of am excited for is maybe it's like the PS1 version where you run into her on a world map and you can pick her up that way.
He did say, I don't know if he's went to the original Reddit post, he did say that there's a world map.
Oh, really?
He said that it's that it's a fairly realistic scale. I mean, obviously not a world, because that would be huge, but that basically it's seamless, that when you get out of a town or something, that the world map happens to open up.
So Dragon Quest XI style then.
What is happening in that game? You get out of a town and it just zooms, and you're kind of at the world map.
Okay, so
or is it
Dragon Quest
FF12 style?
Dragon Quest XI is very similar to FF12. So you have...
Okay.
Well, no, it's more open than that. So you have, like, the towns and everything, but then there is, like, a transition or, like a 2-second load screen. But then you're on the world map. Like, there is a full world map, but it's humongous, and it's comprised of, like all of these, like, sections of the world map that basically feel like... Imagine, like, the entirety of Ocarina of Time's map in one section, and then it connects to and then it connects to another section. But then you get an airship, and it zooms out, and you actually can see the whole world, including, like, the areas that you were running around in. So
okay, gotcha. And you can pick up items and stuff while you're on the quote-unquote world map too.
Yeah,
because that's what he was saying. Is that
correct?
And I'm assuming the gender of this person.
And there's, like, hidden things and, like, optional dungeons and other stuff like that.
That's what he said too.
Done by, like, exploring the world map.
You can pick up some things, and that there's things to interact with on the world
so
map,
it feels
but that
like
there is one.
It feels like a mixture of, like, the PS1 era Final Fantasy world maps and Skyrim. Like, it's like a hybrid of those two, and it's perfect. Like, Dragon Quest XI has the best, like, finger quotes, classic JRPG world map that I've ever seen. And in fact, I might, like... We might have to
From the
record,
sounds of
like,
it, I like that. Like,
we might have to record, like, just
worlds.
5 minutes of it just to, like, show you what I'm talking about. Because it's never been done in a JRPG, to my knowledge, to quite the extent that Dragon Quest XI accomplished. It is beautiful and masterful in every way.
Yeah, it really does sound like the best of both worlds, that you can still get a sense of scale and be like, hey, here's the whole world, and you can go from this big part of the game to this other big part of the game, like, somewhat quickly. But at the same time, to fill it with things, and that it's not, like, so big that it's just like, oh, this is like FF12 or something, where it's just... Or FF10, where it's not really a world map. It's just like all the places are connected, so the world doesn't even feel that big. Right. You know, with the world map, you
oh my god!
Wow. That was brutal.
The fuck? Oh shit. I might die. Oh shit.
Oh, Deco. I was about to like, do you have no pick-me-ups left? But, yeah, the whole point is to give it a sense of scale that you know is warped, to make it feel big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kiss.
No! Come on, fucker!
They really hate Peach. These guys have picked up on your strategy.
On my weaknesses, Jesus. Wow. I should probably focus on the box, huh?
I'm wondering, yeah. Yeah, this genie doesn't seem like he's that bad.
No, he's got a lot of HP, but... God damn. Anyway, so, yeah, Dragon Quest XI has, like, the best world map I've ever seen in a JRPG. It is not the Witcher style of being, like, completely and totally open. And you're just, like, exploring, like, one or two countries, which is still pretty incredible.
Which is still huge.
It is, like, a full world. Like, you explore the planet in that game.
And that's the thing with The Witcher, as humongous as it is, like, a true-to-scale thing. Right. So the best they could do is, like, this part of this big country, you know, basically, right. Or these islands. But yeah, what did he say? He said, I think you saw this in the article, that a lot of the weapons have material slots, and you can actually see that.
Yeah, you can see what materials on your character's weapon. That's
pretty cool. I like that. It shows, you know, that it's some customization, you know, that you have control over. You're not choosing materia to look good, but the fact that it does show up on your weapons is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I didn't explore, like, the full Reddit post that he made, which is unfortunate.
There wasn't. Yeah, they definitely did talk about the world map, but there were some other little things, too. There was the fighting style. They said that these were basically, it's going to be 2 main chapters.
Yeah, so that was the other big development. So it's not, I'm so glad that it's not like a 8-episode series.
I was thinking, like 4 episodes, 5 episodes, something like that. Yeah. So 2 episodes, or even 3. 2 is great, and where they say it cuts off makes sense.
Yeah, it divides at Eris's death.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That really does feel like the halfway point.
Well, it is. It is the halfway point in the game. It's just that Disc 2 and Disc 3 had a lot more, like, cinematics and things like... Stop with that damn Carney kiss. Damn it. Alright, I need to group hug first, and then you'll bring Mario back.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and the fact that they're like, he said they're full-fledged games.
Yes.
Which is like, okay, so $60, I mean, that's not surprising, and it's not really disappointing either. If they are putting more work into it, and that these, you know, even if they're not like 40-hour games, if it's like a fully packed 20, 30-hour game, it's like, okay.
And like 2 of them, mind you, which is kind of neat.
Yeah,
Though,
that is.
I kind of wonder how far apart they'll be spaced. It would suck, like, if you got the first one, and you know, you get to Eris's death, and it ends up being really great and beautiful and everything, but then you have to wait like 5 more years for part 2.
and that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, maybe or maybe at least part 1, if this is true, is not as far off as we think. Like maybe later this year would be a pipe dream, but I wonder,
I
or
would,
like
I
early
would jizz my pants.
Early 2020. Now here's the thing, and here's kind of one of the things that's like, oh, is that really true? Is the Reddit post talked about a downloadable demo
really?
at E3. So when E3 is happening, that they're gonna say,
so like
get the
FF15 style.
Yeah, like get the demo today kind of thing.
Oh, I would jizz.
Yeah, so would I.
We would be doing like a same night play the hits.
And they're also saying that there's going to be like playable demos at E3 for press and everything. So if this game is as little of a snippet that they showed us, maybe it truly is just to whet our appetites, and they have a lot more of this done than we're thinking.
If this guy and if it turns out he's lying about all this shit, that would suck.
Like, it would suck, but it's also like he did his homework.
Troll in the history of trolls.
And I do lean towards that it's fake, partly because of that, because it's like, I don't believe it's not Square Enix's style, but maybe they learned from the fact that, hey, don't announce these games years early and then like give us nothing or give us little snippets at it. So it's possible that they restarted and they've just been working diligently at it and have a lot to show, but they haven't.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where like a big part of me feels like this is just too good to be true. But I realize that a part of that is just because like I don't want to get my hopes up, and I'm still kind of feeling burned by Nomura after like all of the shit that he put 15 through, you know?
Oh yeah.
Which again, one more time, for the record, I enjoyed 15. I thought it was a fun and engaging game, but nowhere close to what it should have been.
Yeah, and we were pulled around. We were taken for a ride.
For a fucking decade.
Yeah, seriously.
A decade of like, is it vaporware, or is it like still FF Versus 13? Is it still coming out for the PS4?
And also,
like,
as much as they could have improved that game, there's many, issues that I do have with it.
Well, there were so many false leads, like that whole...
It would have been almost impossible to meet expectations at that point. Like, it was totally promised a lot and showed a lot.
Right up until the end, where they were saying, we're going to have like these DLC chapters that are really going to round out the story. And then it just ended up being episode Arden, which, mind you, I still haven't played.
Yeah, I've only played like an hour of it, so I still got to complete that.
Yeah, that might be a fun one to do on this channel.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd like to do like the entirety of FF15 on this channel at some point.
At some point, we should do that.
Just to kind of like really go in deep and like diagnose what was good, what was okay, and what really went wrong.
You haven't replayed the Royal Edition, have you? Because I have not.
No, I've not. I was actually waiting for the DLC to wrap up, and I'm just gonna like do it in like one big playthrough, and that's what I'd like to do on this channel, is do like everything, like Gladio, Ignis, Prompto, and Arden.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Like, they've added a lot to that game.
Oh yeah, they've really tried hard, but at the same time, like, I don't know, like it's still like
it all feels disconnected.
There's portions of it that feel really disconnected, and like it's not a complete game. Like even though they have like complete elements of it, like I said, it's easy to point to like some of the middle chapters where like the story just seems completely disconnected from itself.
Yeah, it does.
Like, oh, now you're in a power plant because we spent money on this cool power plant scene. And
yeah, basically. It's like, why?
And there's still like
it did feel disconnected. There's only cool thing
one,
to this cool thing.
Yeah, there's only one town that feels like it's even halfway done, and that's Altissia. Like, there's no real, like, civilizations to explore. I mean, it's just kind of like these kind of sort of linear, like, little submission hubs.
It's either a gas station or, like, a gas station with buildings around it.
Right.
Like, yeah, Altissia does feel, at least the size of it feels correct.
Yeah.
And it feels.
But there's
sure.
Yeah, there's some cool areas. But it almost feels like a town-themed map, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Like there's a difference between like a living, breathing, like occupied place, which mind you, even though FF10 was linear, still managed to get down. Like the towns were actual towns.
Oh yeah, the towns felt like the towns from the other games on the PlayStation 1.
Yep.
They definitely felt the same there.
15 they definitely did not. And it's hard to even pinpoint what the difference is. Like, part of it is just, like, the amount of, like, area that you can actually explore, which is not very much. They're kind of like corridors with, like, one or two areas where you can kind of, you know, get side missions and rest at the inn, and that's it.
Part of it for me is the lack of going inside buildings.
Yeah, for real.
FF10, you were still able to go inside a lot. Mm-hmm. And with 15, it's like,
and you could talk to
hotel.
NPCs and just stuff like that. And like the shops were actual shops and not just like little kiosks. And
yeah, that's true.
And again, it seems like small details, but as far as like sucking you into the world, that really makes a big difference.
Yeah, it all kind of comes together to make it a little cohesive.
And I think that was one of the most incredible things about The Witcher 3, is that the buildings weren't just window dressing like they were in FF15. Like, you could straight up go in at least 60% of the buildings in that game.
Oh yeah. Even if it was just like some house with a
a tea kettle
sick person on it, laying in a corner, and you could steal all their imperial stouts. Like, there was still stuff to do.
Yeah, it wasn't building. Not every building had like deep meaning, but it didn't have to, because that's real life, right? Like,
yeah.
Not everything you come across is relevant to something else.
And that made the exploration, like in 15, it's like, oh, there's something here. Well, then, I mean, in the world map, there was definitely a lot of crap to pick up, but most of it was crap. With Witchers, like, when you did get something that was like great, it felt pretty awesome. That it was just like, there's all these places to explore, and now I actually found something that's like worthwhile. So all my exploring was not for naught.
Well, and the funny thing about that game too is at first, like, I didn't even realize. Like, I just figured because it's an open world game and because it's this massive, there's no way I can just enter a random building on the streets of Novigrad until, like, I accidentally did it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, so it's not just, like, the finger quotes quest buildings that I can go in. Like, I can go into a lot of these, and like the game would actually reward you for doing that. Like, you could find like a path to a rooftop and just, you know, find a couple of coins, or, you know, like some. And
it didn't have to load. Like, I mean, yes, the game has huge loading times in between parts of the continent.
Right.
But the fact that you could ride a horse from one end of the map to one end of this country
while cutting through a city on the way, mind you.
And the fact that city might have a lot of buildings that you can explore, and you go inside, and yeah, sure, they have clever texturing on the windows, but you look outside the windows and it's the same buildings that are like there and stuff, and it's like, they just did such a good job with that game.
And dude, no joke, in that game, Novigrad could have been its own game.
Yes, and it would have been like 2 years before that game came out. Like,
and it would have been acceptable too. Like, I wouldn't have felt robbed if, like, most of the game was just the Novigrad chapter. I mean,
yeah,
but that was only one part of a just
That was
massive
like
undertaking.
not even 1/4 of the game,
Yeah,
and
the
yet
point,
you could stay there for hours.
oh yeah, and
do
that's
the
to say
side quests were
nothing of
great.
that's to say nothing of all the side missions there. God damn it. And this isn't to get sidetracked or anything, but the point that we're making here is that this is possible, and FF15 just squandered a decade's worth of development time, and really, like, even though they ended up producing a fun and memorable product, in terms of like what they were trying to go for with the world, they didn't even come close.
Yeah, and I get that they didn't have 10 years to work on the final product, but they could have. That's the thing.
They
It's like
really could have.
they
Even then, though, we
they
forget
probably
that
would have spent
the
10
Witcher.
years.
We forget that The Witcher 3 was developed front to back in 4 years.
Like 4, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically the version of FF15 that we got was as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at what they did and then what CD Projekt
What they
Red accomplished.
right in the same amount of time, basically,
Well,
and
think
there's
of all
really
the
no
money they
excuse.
must have
It was
squandered just
Right.
for like restarting these games. And now FF7, they did the same thing. Oh, we have to restart.
which
Like,
is why I'm
why,
still pretty
guys?
worried. Yeah. Because
like,
it
what?
shows me that they haven't really learned their, or at least no, and I'm still pointing the finger at Nomura. The guy should not
I
be
was
the
involved
director.
in both of these projects.
Well,
Like,
not involved.
he's
He was
common
the
thread.
director.
He's the director. Yeah,
and he
he's
should
the
he
common
shouldn't be a
thread.
director. Yeah, he should not be a director of games.
he should be like a creative consultant.
Yeah,
guy
right.
has.
The guy has
he's a
great ideas.
Good artist. He has
Yeah.
some good ideas. That doesn't mean he can do the business part of this. He clearly
No.
can't.
No.
And the fact that Square is letting him and putting him in charge of these things, it's like, okay, he got Kingdom Hearts 3 out, but how long were they working on that game?
And by
You
the
know.
way, have you played Kingdom Hearts 3 yet? What's
I haven't beaten it. It's a little disappointing so far.
okay? I was gonna say, what's the verdict? Does it feel like super disjointed, kind of like 15, or is it a little more cohesive? Or
I mean,
kind of
it
a
kind of
mix?
does, but at the same time, Kingdom Hearts has always been that way.
Yeah, right.
It's just that I feel like they haven't evolved. And yes, the stages, the worlds are a bit bigger, and they're a little more connected. That's definitely true, but it feels like an extremely pretty PlayStation 2 game.
Huh?
Yeah, it definitely feels
That's
that way.
odd.
Yeah, and that is, isn't it? That is odd. You don't really play games like that
No.
anymore. So
I decided to fuck
is-
it on that green coin.
Yeah, seriously. So it is disappointing in that sense, but I think I kind of expected that, and it's like, oh, it's Kingdom Hearts. The biggest disappointment for me is the battle system.
Oh, really?
It's so floaty, dude.
I was
Like,
gonna say it looked super shiny and all of the.
It does. It looks nice. But oh, you're already here. Damn.
Yep, we're here. We made it. We
Basically.
have arrived.
No.
Oh god. Oh god. What did I just do? Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Phew.
But
Sorry, make me do that a second time.
yeah, if you play a lot of Kingdom Hearts 2, even Kingdom Hearts 1, sort of.
Yeah,
They're all mellows.
that's right.
Kingdom Hearts 2 has a bit of depth to the game. It's you can get by on the easy mode with just button mashing,
Hmm.
but there's a lot more to it, especially when it comes to the boss fights.
Oh yeah.
And in this game, it is very much it's very floaty,
Mhm.
where it's basically you mash X and you're gonna do these crazy things, but you fall very slowly back to the ground.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's not as quick. It's not nearly as quick or as responsive. Sora just feels like he's floating in the air and doing
Huh.
like slow dance.
So they really didn't take the time to evolve it at all then.
Maybe it feels like an evolution to them, but it is giving the game a little bit more control and taking control away from you, for sure.
Yeah.
And they also kind of force you don't even have the chance to fight too much before a menu comes up and it's just like, do this crazy thing. Whoa! You hit the right enemy. Time to do a attraction ride attack. And it's like, what? It's like, oh, you hit the enemy 3 times in a row. Time to do like the upgrade blade. It's like, what? So
Wow.
it's like you can't really beat a whole lot of, like, you can, but the game very much is throwing it in your face. Hey, do this special attack, and you're it's very flashy. There's not a whole lot of substance to the fighting system.
Yeah.
But like you said, it looks pretty, but it also gets repetitive because after a while you're seeing these animations again and again each fight.
Right.
You know, where it's just like, whoa, go to second form. Whoa, do the attraction thing. And it slows things down ultimately. It's like, let me just beat its head in a little bit, like, and kill it quickly.
Yeah. Huh.
So they slowed it down, they took control away from you. It's very floaty. They did all that for the sake of making it kind of look pretty and flashy. And that's what it is. It's flash.
This is actually kind of good news to me because it kind of helps temper my expectations a little bit. Like I said, I'm not a huge hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan. I enjoyed 1 and 2, but then just completely fell out. Like I have played none of the side games.
That's pretty much me. Yeah, 1 and 2, and a little bit of Birth by Sleep, but that's about it.
And my feeling on that is, just as well, because I was never super invested in the story. I found it,
smart move.
I found it kind of fun for the time that I played it, but yeah. And so what I'm doing now is going back and sorry, I'm trying to look at these here real quick.
That's okay.
And just
I
going.
feel like the spike thing is better. For Bowser, at least, than the sticky glove.
Oh, that's for Mallow. Bowser's stuff was at... There's nothing for Bowser here.
Oh, okay,
because he was the only one who could get stuff in Monster Town. Words. So, yeah, I actually recently replayed the first Kingdom Hearts in the HD collection. And I'm going to do the same thing with 2 before finally picking up 3. Just to, get, caught up, get back into the lore and understand what's going on, because I have such vague memories of the first 2 games.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, for sure. And the third game does a decent job, I guess, of having optional primers that kind of explain stuff. Yeah, yeah, and they're kind of nice. But the story's still fucked. When it comes to the actual story, if you just like the interactions between Disney characters and stuff, the third game does a really good job with that, I think. That's where the game shines, is they have a lot of the modern voice actors that play these characters in the movies.
You do not want to sell that, right?
The seed, no. I don't.
No, that's how you get the thing, right?
The, what do you call it? The
lazy shell?
Mario's, the lazy shell.
Yeah, oh my god. Do not let me sell that.
But, what was I going to say?
Just Kingdom Hearts in general is kind of a hot mess.
It is a bit of a hot mess.
This is where Mallow starts putting it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna play 3. I'll probably enjoy 3, but again, for as long as that game was in development and for as much as they build up, it's kind of that textbook Nomura standard where he released an extremely good-looking game that does very little to actually evolve the genre or do something really memorable or creative.
Yeah, it's it is a good looking game. There really isn't anything that's kind of sets it apart. There's nothing creative. It doesn't really push the envelope.
Right.
But if you like the Disney interactions, that's nice. And they do, not to shortchange that part of it, they do that better than the other 2 games.
Yeah.
That you see, it doesn't do it so much where it's always through Sora's eyes. You'll notice that the game kind of cuts away and will focus on the Disney characters for a while.
Oh, really?
And at times, it almost feels like it could be part of a Disney movie. So they do that. They do that pretty well, a lot better than the first 2 games. But the gameplay wise and just looking at it, it feels like a very pretty PS2 game when we come down to it.
No, not yet, because this is going to be it for this episode, actually. Let's just explore here just to see if there's any items to grab, and then we'll call it a day. But yeah, I know what you're saying, and it's kind of weird sometimes when you get that with modern games that just don't feel like they spent a lot of money on the engine and then very little time at actually developing the gameplay in the world and just kind of getting you invested.
And that's what's nice, especially when you get to closer to the end of a generation, is that sometimes they are reusing, one, either assets, which you hope they're not doing too much, but maybe an engine that they've built for this generation, and also just their knowledge of working with the systems. They usually got their shit together. You know?
And the best example of that is probably Majora's Mask, which definitely not my favorite Zelda, but you really have to admire like what they did with the 64's technology and just how creative they got with that game.
Yeah.
Like stuff that you really like, that whole looping time cycle and just other things like that you really didn't think were possible on the 64.
Yeah. And that's
we were talking
for
about
FF7 remake is that they, we scrapped it because we were going to use Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Or proprietary. I hope that proprietary system is the, Ebony or whatever it's called, the thing that they use for 15. And that is my hope, is that, if this game is sooner, it's going to happen sooner than we think.
Yeah.
It's because, we've already done 15. We have the knowledge. It plays a lot like it.
That's why I'm kind of starting to get my hopes up just a tiny bit.
Yeah,
because
me too.
It is a late generation. It's kind of weird to think that we're now in the later part of the PS4 generation, because this has been such a great one, and I feel like it just started last year, even though it's been since 2013. But
14 or something. Yeah.
No, 13, because it was the year before Kana was born.
Oh, jeez, wow.
Yeah, so we've been in this generation for almost 6 years now, which
That's
is
crazy.
about as long as the PS3 was. So I wouldn't be surprised if 2020 or early 2021 we get the PS5 or something like, or whatever its equivalent is. But now we're getting to that point where, like, you're right, like they're milking the system for all of it, all it's worth, and you kind of saw that with like Red Dead 2 and God of War, like these games that really just like the level of polish, at least from a graphical standpoint, like the smoothness of the gameplay, they've really learned how to take full advantage of the hardware, and so that's exciting.
I don't see FF7 being a launch title for the PS5 or anything like that. Like, and I don't think that'd be good for
Square
them.
Enix is marketing it as such. I think they're going for broke.
Yeah.
Like,
so I have
desperately
to think
trying to get it out by the end of the PS4 generation.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it's within a year that we get Chapter 1.
The best news we could get from this is that they've pulled Nomura off the director's seat, like they did for FF15.
I wouldn't mind it at this point. Keep him on. But not as director.
But play to his strengths. Keep him in charge of the art and the set pieces, and let someone else do the actual nuts and bolts. Like that's
let someone else do the business, because sometimes you gotta push and get stuff done.
The poor man. I mean, you've got to imagine that it's got to be hard for him, like being in an environment in his job that he's not suited for. Like, people are asking him, like, okay, we need you to like help us tool the combat system, and he's like, make Noctis fly up this building. And it's like, okay, but we need like the technical aspects of it. How's it going to control? Like, is it a quick time event, or I want an explosion to come out and you can see all of the glass particles, and then Noctis transforms the glass particles into a sword and kills the behemoth. Yeah, but how? like those two things just don't seem to connect for him, and so.
I also wonder if he's a bit of a perfectionist, where it's like, no, it has to be this way.
I know
that's not how I'm seeing it.
I know perfectionism, and he's not a perfectionist. He's got ADD. Like, undiagnosed, I guarantee it. And that's not a bad thing either, because sometimes, like, that, because his mind is constantly spiraling off in a million different directions, he has really cool and provocative
He's an ideas man. Yeah.
But they don't always gel into a functional game, which is ultimately how we got FF15 in the state that it's in.
Yeah, especially if you try to put too much into a game, which, again, if he does, if it is more the ADD than perfectionism, although sometimes different sides of the same line.
Yeah.
You try to add all of your ideas in, and they're all happy, and nothing really works very well.
Right.
I could see that happening too.
Well, hey, Max, this has been a great conversation. I'm really excited as we kind of learn more about this this E3. I think this might be one of those E3s to remember. The last,
I'm looking forward to June.
The last really great E3 for me was, 2017 that Resident Evil 2 was announced?
Oh yeah,
that was a hell of an E3.
That was Resident Evil 2 was probably the big announcement for me. that was.
And you know,
but
actually,
I remember
come
there was
to
a
think
lot
of it,
going on
2015 was really good too. So they seem to be like on odd number years. So
on
who
the
knows?
odd
Maybe
years, right?
maybe 2019 will follow that trend. But
That would be nice. Yeah,
we'll have to find
2015.
out.
That was the year of dreams. I think when it came to Sony's conference, especially.
For sure.
Yeah.
But hey, we'll get more into it next time on Play the Hits. So we'll see you then, buddy.
All right, buddy. See you then.
Have a good night.